Hi, I'm Senat von Flippert und Arcade-Museum Seligenstadt and the Four Amusement Only, and you're listening to Scene World Podcast.
It is the Scene World Podcast, right? Okay. That's not how that was supposed to go. One more time. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. My name is AJ. That's Joerg over there with me as always.
Hello.
And that means that this is the Scene World Podcast.
The Scene World Podcast.
Yeah. In just a moment, we're going to be on with Lau Brix. He's making a drop-in replacement keyboard for the 64 and the Reloaded and all that, and it's got, you know, nice switches and all this stuff. But we'll talk to him in a moment about that. In the meantime, before we do that, wow, this is going to need editing. Before we get to that, we'll go through some news. I think there may be some things to talk about.
Yes, the new Atari system, VCS, is on Indiegogo, and within a night it went over 200% funded. So people are wondering if there's anything useful.
It's just an x86 game console, right?
Yeah.
Huh.
So personally, I didn't pledge for it.
No.
I will wait till it's coming out.
Yeah, I'm not. It's a cool thing in theory, but and you know, it looks the part. It's got the cool wood grain and all that, but at the same time, it's an x86 console that, you know, is powered by Steam, I think. So that's everything.
Well, okay. On the other hand, there is a Slipstream being released.
A what?
Slipstream is
there you go.
a clone for Outrun.
Right.
And it's a Steam game.
Okay.
And it's very, very good. I have to say, I really enjoy playing it. It really feels like Outrun.
Is it a modern remake of Outrun, or is it very
retro graphics?
It's retro graphicsy.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm looking it up right now.
Done by a Brazilian.
Oh yeah, that's very retro.
Done by a Brazilian game design studio.
Okay.
Indie development studio. And
there's a Mac version?
Not sure, but could be.
There is. I'm looking at the system requirements.
Well, then there is.
Requires 64-bit processor, Mac OS 10.9, 2 gigs of RAM. Wow, that's a lot of processing. That's a lot of RAM for. Okay.
Well, it's not that. It's not how to say. It's not that old that it would be coded like an old game. Yeah. I guess. Anyway, I'm very happy about that. It's one of those Dutch projects that I really love.
Cool.
Yeah, what else? The IDE 64 project announced on their blog earlier this month that all units are sold out of the IDE 64 controller, and they are considering, if there's enough interest, to make a reproduction for this year. So maybe everybody who's interested into getting one should write to them that they should reproduce them. Another bet.
Yeah. Speaking of stuff like that, the add-ons, the FM-YAM they've met their production cost, I guess. They were, once they reached an amount of money that they were hoping to get, they were going to put them into development. The FM-YAM, did we talk about this before?
We did, but not that they are reproductioning it.
Right. So it's a cartridge with the FM-YAM chip, which is what was used in. It's a Yamaha sound trip.
sound chip, which was used in the AdLib back in the day.
Right. And it wasn't it used in...
Originally, it was used in an AdLib card. Oh. That was the first generic sound card for PCs in 98.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry, 89, 87.
Right.
Founded in Quebec, Canada.
It's the YM3812 chip.
Yeah.
Also known as the OPL2. It was a chip created by Yamaha in 1985. It was used in the AdLib, Sound Blaster, and Pro Audio Spectrum, as well as arcade games by Nishibitsu, Toaplan, and others.
Exactly.
So we don't have it. I don't have mine yet. You don't have one, do you?
I'm still waiting, like you.
Right. I just got an email saying that they're looking at summer this year.
Yeah.
So that's their goal. So but there's a couple of videos we will link in the podcast description. Miss Mad Lemon has a very good overview of it on her YouTube channel, and we will link to that, because if you want to know anything about it, that's a great way to learn about it and to hear the kinds of noises that it makes.
Yeah, I saw it. It's very good.
Mm-hmm. So that's a thing. Hey, I went to the Vintage Computer Festival East a couple of weeks ago.
How was it?
It was interesting. It was not as packed as it was last year. Last year there was a huge Commodore section. Like, I mean, the main hall there, the main exhibition room was almost all Commodore. And this year, it wasn't. This year was a lot of other stuff, with Amiga. The Guru Meditation had a really cool setup with demonstrating Amiga Genlock capabilities. So that was nifty. And there was quite a bit. I actually realized afterwards that I went to it, and I went through all the stuff that I went through last year, looked at all the things. And then I looked at the map on the little flyer when I got home, and I didn't go to like half of the stuff. I missed it. There's other buildings that have stuff in them, and I didn't even know about those other buildings. I'm like, wow, this consignment room is really small. Yeah, because that's not the consignment room. But yeah.
So is there any video you would?
There is some video, which will be going up. It pans better. I'm not as shaky and quick as I was the last one.
Yeah, because it was making me sick when I watched
it. Was pretty, yeah,
I know you sent me a snippet like, is it slow enough this time?
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, I will be putting that up. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to go into very hardcore editing. I'm just going to throw up maybe a voiceover on it.
How about your?
I don't have that much video for the VCF. The rest of the museum is the same as it was last year, so there's no point in me, showing the bomb shelter again, because you've seen it.
And you were wrong, because you didn't watch the map.
Yes, I didn't last year either. No, last year I missed that as well.
Next year you are smarter.
Yeah, next year I'll pay attention to the fact that there's more buildings in the back that I didn't go into.
Great. Okay, other news. Tanglewood game, the jump and run for the Mega Drive, is also being soon to be shipped out. They are actually getting the master units from the factory.
What is this now?
It's a jump and run for the Mega Drive.
Oh, the actual Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive, as they call it in Europe.
And it's a bit like a Lion King, but it's better.
The Lion King?
Isn't that called in English?
That's what it's called. There was a game? Of course there was a game. What am I talking about? It's a movie. Of course there was a game. Yeah. There's always a game, and it's I never played it though. I never had a Genesis or Mega Drive, so I never played those games, the stuff on it.
On the other hand, talking about consoles, the C64 Mini arrived to me.
Oh, yes.
And on the second Sunday of July, we will actually make a live Twitch show.
That'll be July 15th, 2018.
Yeah.
2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
Which is like 7 p.m. for Germany and Central Europe.
Yes. So
summertime.
We'll be going over that live, and we'll show everybody what it can do. I played with one at the VCF. They had one set up.
Yeah.
Have you used it yet?
No.
It does a good job of emulation. I will give it that. It's not a bad little machine. The keyboard, the software keyboard, is a pile of shit. But because there's certain games you need to use the keyboard for. That's the 64 had a keyboard in. It would be dumb not to use it. This does not have a working keyboard, so you got to pull up this little keyboard on the side of the screen, and then you got to move your joystick to make the thing go to whatever you want it to go to, and it's time consuming, and the joystick is not that great. But
the DTV had the same issue, and that is why it had keys laid out to little buttons.
This one has certain keys out to little buttons, but not all of them. So sometimes you need to actually use the keyboard, and it's an exercise in frustration. Unless, I guess, you hook a USB keyboard up to it, which is something you can do.
Which I should do when I do the live podcast.
No. I think that you should use the awful built-in keyboard so people can see what it's like.
We should know that is in this aspect kind of a disadvantage over the DTV, because the DTV was FPGA based, and the successor of the Commodore 1, which was also FPGA based by Jerry Ellsworth. And this time Jerry Ellsworth has no hands in it.
Right.
In fact, nobody of the original team has hands in it except Darren Melbourne.
Right, and Darren Melbourne is more of a administration type of guy than he is an engineering type of guy.
Yeah.
So when there's from what I understand, they're still planning to do a full-sized with keyboard version of this. Right?
Oh yes, a plus version. Yeah.
Right. So when that comes out, that is something that I would be interested in something like that.
Even if it's emulation.
Yeah, even if it's emulation, because it gives you that. Emulation is, if it works well, what's the difference, right? A Vice on Mac or PC is emulation.
Well,
there's nothing preventing you from doing any regular C64 stuff on it. It's fully functional emulation. So as long as this isn't hobbled in some way because of the emulation, which I don't think it is, then who cares?
Well, the hardware re-implementation of FPGA is supposed to be more accurate.
Yeah, but again, Vice, I can't think of much that is more accurate in terms of emulating the original machine than Vice is. Even with the stupid little, the inconsistencies and the errors and things that happen and whatnot. Vice is
Ultimate
very
64.
Good. But that remains to be seen, because it's only just come out. We haven't found out if there's any weird nonsense with it that doesn't get right.
Yeah, because it's still in development, still in beta.
Right.
Yeah.
Vice has been around for a long time, so there's lots and lots of hours of development and testing behind it to find anything wrong, whereas this thing has just come out. And while I don't doubt it's a great product,
couldn't imagine anybody better than Gideon Schweitzer.
Yeah, no, the guy is amazing.
Jens Schönfeld is another guy,
yes.
but he will come out with his own stuff, with his Mark III.
The only thing that really kills me with the 64 Ultimate is, again, the lack of the user port, which I understand that there is
fixed.
There
will be a tech cable.
Right, there is a cable that you can hook up to make one, but to omit that in the beginning, by default, just seems,
He did the same with the tape adapter for the Ultimate 1541.
Right.
Same concept.
Yeah. So. I'm still, for my money, I'm still waiting for the Mega 65. That's what I'm waiting on. What else we got? I feel like I had something that I was going to discuss the other day, and I can't think of what it was.
Did we mention that the Mega Man for the NES and SNES was sold, and it's meanwhile sold out by the 8-bit store?
I think we did, yeah.
We mentioned that before.
I think so.
Well, no problem. I mean, I told you my news. Not my fault if you don't know yours.
I know something we missed. The new issue of Scene World is out.
Oh yeah, 28.
Yeah. So that's out. Everyone should go check it out on the website, which you may be on right now. If you're not, then it's sceneworld.org. The 64 version is out. There will be an Amiga version out momentarily, as soon as we figure out how to do that.
Yeah, there was this thing, like 3 years ago actually, we started doing this online version of for web browsers.
Right. Yes, good eye.
And AJ was the one that found that the only browser on iOS and Android to not have a buffer sound error on Vice for JavaScript was the Puffin browser.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was too slow. So 2 years ago, I wrote to the Puffin browser support, and they said, okay, we are working on making the JavaScript faster. So now it's faster. It's not 100%.
The dudes went out of their way to get the thing to work better for us, right?
Yeah,
so that the Scene World online version would be usable, because it was slow and painful in every other browser.
Exactly. But now there is a bug that means that the mouse emulation doesn't work for some reason because of a bug in their browser. And they actually sent an email back to us 2 days later that they would love to fix the bug, but they aren't able to supply the new version of the Puffin browser because Apple is forbidding them to do so.
This is a thing that Apple has been doing for a while, in that they say you can make a web browser if you want, but you have to use WebKit, which is Apple's implementation of So it's essentially, it's every web browser is Safari. You're just skinning it slightly different.
Yeah. But Puffin browser is using Chromium.
Well, Puffin browser does the rendering off site, so the site rendering is not done in your browser. It's done outside on their own thing, and then they send that to you. So it's super fast.
Too. Yeah.
But now Apple is saying that you can't have a browser in their store if it doesn't use their basic WebKit system, which again, it's something Apple has done with the reasoning behind it is, we want to protect our people and safety and quality and all that. But in reality, it's just them making it more difficult for developers to do something interesting.
Well, that means now Puffin browser is fast enough, but you can't control the Mac sys.
Right.
Because of a bug they can't fix, because of Apple forbidding them to accept the update on the App Store.
Right.
Yeah.
They're still on the App Store, Apple App Store, correct?
Yes.
They haven't been deleted from that.
Yes, you can still install an older version.
So Apple has stopped them from updating Puffin. There's a link where it's explained exactly like the intricacies and whatnot behind it. We will link to that in the podcast description. It's called "It's Time to Call Out the Bad Apple," and that's kind of one of the big issues that Apple has had, and that I've been unhappy with. I'm a Mac user. Up until recently I had an iPhone. Joerg still has an iPhone, as we
7
know.
Plus, yes.
When Siri inevitably will pop into this thing at some point.
Not today because I plugged in my headset.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Learn from my mistake.
But it's basically their guidelines for app review are made up as they go along. There is nothing set in stone for a lot of this stuff. Apple can do what it wants. That's all there is to it, So it kind of falls on us, the users and the community, to hit back at Apple and tell them to knock this off, because again, based on their guidelines, they could easily have said, okay, Puffin browser, because of the target demographic for the browser, and because of the things that it's doing, we can let that one slip by, right? There's nothing stopping them from saying that, because there's nothing that says that, you can't do this, because every other version of Puffin was accepted. It was on the App Store.
Yeah, and it's actually surprising to me that they even listened to our feedback. They could easily have said, "What do we care?"
Right.
Yeah. But they have been supportive, and now it's fast enough. But now you can't skip the intro, and even if you could, you can't control the maxes.
Right.
Because of the imports not working, and they can't fix it.
Right. And Apple, and they make the argument that Apple is mostly concerned about competition because they get billions of dollars of search revenue from Google, which is what their web browser stuff uses. So they lose that revenue from everyone that uses Puffin browser, essentially.
Which is still the fastest browser on iOS.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it's stupid fast. Puffin is it's an amazing browser, and they've got very good support to the point where they were like, "Oh yeah, hey, you're having, your Commodore 64 disk mag doesn't run well in JavaScript on our browser. We'll fix that for you." I mean, that's pretty substantial, So again, we will link to this article so that everyone can kind of check that out, and let your voices be heard, and let Apple know that this is not cool, and that they need to, make more reasonable guidelines.
Sure.
Anyway, so we should get on with the main part of this, and talk
about keyboards.
Yes, Lau is hanging out right over there, waiting for us to finish. So we should go and talk to him right now.
So today we are talking to Lau Brix, and you actually are known because you posted back in March already that you are working on recreating the C64 keyboard, like redesigning a totally new thing.
Yes.
So welcome to the show.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So this is something that I've said quite a few times that we desperately need in as far as the 64 goes, which is that, they're making new cases. We've got new motherboards being made, in the 64 Ultimate and the Reloaded. One thing that we don't have is the keyboards. And in all my years using these different machines, the only things that have ever actually gone bad on me are those keyboard motherboards. And I've had like 3 of them go bad.
Yeah.
And you can't...
Something happened with the resistance in the rubber part on the bottom of them, and then you can try to switch them, but eventually the most used button you need to buy a new machine and then swap the keyboards, basically.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So back in June 16, I thought, well, hey, how hard can it be, right? To assemble the parts, just draw out a new PCB, and then I finally decided to, just put the time into it and just finish it. And then when I was done with the first prototype, I thought, hey, why not just share it with whoever wants to look at it? And this has been really exciting because there's been so many people just looking at blog posts. There was this guy, an American, I forget his name, But he said, well, he linked or posted it on some hacking forum, something. And within 2 days, I had like 7,000 visitors a day. And usually I would have between 250 and 300. And at the moment, I had between 600 and 800 people every day, unique visitors going to my little blog or my little homepage. So this is very exciting. So, and a lot of people have asked me about, well, why don't you do this Kickstarter, Indiegogo? Why don't you have big productions made in China or whatever? And well, I'm not a company. I'm just a guy thinking the Commodore 64 is awesome, basically, and wanted to contribute. And because I have the reloaded boards myself, I don't have yet an Ultimate 64 board, but I thought, hey, I have I had the Kickstarter cases. I don't have the one from Pixel Visits in Germany. I bought the original one from the Kickstarter campaign a few years back.
From Dallas Moore in Texas?
Yeah. Exactly. So all I needed was a new keyboard. So I started out thinking, well, I just make just a few for myself. But at the moment, I'm working on making a small batch of approximately 30 boards or something like that. But things takes time, especially if you want to keep the costs down. And if something goes wrong with the production in China, I try to protect myself, because making large batches, like say order 50 or 100 a piece, I need to be very sure that the PCBs are all right, the manufacturing is okay, and all the bits and pieces that goes into building this board. I just calculated, or in my Excel sheet, there's more than 200 pieces going into making that keyboard, which is kind of silly, but there's so many bits and pieces to make this very simple mechanical keyboards work in a very old machine like the Commodore 64. So there was a background of why I wanted to do the new keyboard.
That's interesting. Are you a hardware designer by a living or something?
No, I'm a civil engineer. I work with, I'm actually a researcher, so I do research within magnetic resonance imaging, which would be at a hospital. So I have no electronic experience, no mechanical engineering. I just sat down and figured things out, I guess.
Self-taught, okay.
So yeah, because when you have a project that you think is very rewarding to actually complete, then well, all you need is time, basically. So when my family go to sleep early at 8 or 9 o'clock, then we have a small 4-year-old son. Then I have like 3 hours, 4 or 5 hours, depending on how tired I can get tomorrow. So this is done whenever the rest of the family is sleeping in my basement, basically. Yes.
I mean, we have examples where it's working. See Jerry Ellsworth, for example, who also made it all self-taught. So why not? Yeah. So let's talk a bit about how did you actually start with your Commodore 64 hobby? Is it like most people just starting as a gamer?
Yes. When back in late 80s or something like that, all the kids in the neighborhood, they had Commodore 64s, and we were, because we live in Europe, right, then the diskette games were very expensive, so we were swapping tapes at school and copying with. My parents had this double deck stereo thing, so you could put the tape deck with the ABC Turbo games on one side, and then you could speed copy everything to another 90-minute tape or whatever, and have a typewriter. You would write how far you need to go to find Boulder Dash, or how far you need to go to Commando, and yep. So that's basically what I did. And then when I went to high school, I was probably about 17 or 18. I even turned in physics reports on my Commodore 64. I had a 9-nail printer, a 9-pin.
9-pin, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I had like, I don't know, 50 or 60 original tape games. I had like 2,000 5.25-inch discs, and I had the printer. I had what do we call the Final Cartridge 3. I had so much gear, and I think I sold it for like, I don't know, 250 euros or something like that. And I thought, what a stupid idiot paying me 200. And I'm like, no, why did I sell that? But,
yeah.
needed the money for something else. I don't know, a new bike or I don't know, something else. So, and then I picked it up a few years back and had been repairing and just trying to modify gear in the basement. And then my wife said, well, why don't you just make a home site and put everything on a blog or something to share this? And
wow,
that's how I got into it in August of 15. So 2.5 years ago, I started blogging, I guess. So, and that's, I'm not very active at Lemon 64 or there's some German. I know a little bit of German. I had like 3 years of German in school, but that's 25 years ago or something like that. So, but Google Translate, you can get a lot from the German forums as well.
Yeah, that is actually what happened with our last podcast guest, Peter Reichenbach, who is working on making the Z128 again. And all that information was in German that was out on Forum 64. So, yeah. So basically, we are trying to get all the information out because, as I said, you have your little blog. And it's kind of interesting, me. So your family is supporting you in your idea. Because when I look at my family, most people say it's like trash that I'm collecting, you know?
Okay.
Well, you're laughing at Jay, but hey, that's the general...
I don't know anything about that.
I told my wife we would be millionaires if we collected enough different types of Commodore 64s, and so far she's bought it. So I don't know, I have 10, 15 machines or something, all different versions of the motherboard and all that. And yeah, it's not in the basement though. It's sealed and it's in a dark place. So hopefully they'll be good looking also in 25 years or so.
Good luck. But you don't have a golden one, or do you?
No, I don't have one of those. That would be great.
Those the Holy Grail.
Yeah, how many did they make? Like 1,000 or something like that, right? So now I don't even have a silver label. I have 2 reloaded boards though. So, but not the Ultimate 64 yet.
So the first revision of the reloaded board, a lot of people tried to sell them at rare on eBay.
Yeah, I just saw I just saw one of the Ultimate boards again for sale for like $1,500 on eBay.
An Ultimate 64?
Yeah.
The prototype board. Yeah, I got one too. Yeah.
Yeah. There was one on sale on eBay a couple of months ago when it first came out, and it sold for like $1,500. And now there's another one on there selling for the same amount.
Wow,
it's amazing.
That's silly. I've spent all my money on a 30-some-year-old keyboard that I'm trying to rebuild, right? So that's where all my money goes.
Actually, I just had the case for the first time in my life that one of the key stamps broke, and it's a cursor up key, the most used key on the keyboard.
Yeah. You need to take everything apart and then swap them, and some of the what's it called, the British pound sign or something. Use it. That I never use that key anyway. So, but yeah, you should be able to find some on the internet. People sell them for I don't know, 2 or 3 euros plus shipping. So at least.
I already got it. I already got a friend with enough steady hands to do it for me. So
okay, perfect.
Yeah. But basically, speaking about keyboards, you wrote in your blog you are supporting with your new keyboard the new keycaps that are supposed to come out from Phase 5. So they will actually work on your redesigned keyboard, right?
See the cherry-based keyboard stabs, the part that the key top goes onto the micro switch. There's this guy from Mechanical Keyboards. He made a board called Mech 64, and he actually made a little adapter that I have 3D printed. He put it out on GitHub. It's available for anyone who wants it to download it, and I had mine printed Shapeways. But basically, it's a little adapter that will fit the cherry-based what's it called, micro switches, and the old Commodore 64 keycaps, which will be the exact same that Phase 5 is producing in Austria. So they should be the keyboards I'm making will be without the keycaps, because in order to, I need to scavenge a new keyboard in order to make and then eventually sell these keyboards. So the idea is that it's a drop-in replacement. People can. I even bought some of those key pullers that the mechanical keyboard guys use to undock or whatever, unload their keycaps. So they will be able to nice and easy to swap them with the original one. So whenever everything is fitted in the old hardware, you will not be able to actually see that there's a brand new keyboard in there. I don't know, with the new board, with the Reloaded and the Ultimate boards, people probably want some fancy colors from the Phase 5 Indiegogo campaign, but I think most people, they would just like a keyboard that will keep working for the next 25 years. And if a key breaks, it's just a matter of a little tool, and you can remove the top part of the micro switch, and you can put in a brand new, and they should work. But I think the manufacturer of the micro switches, they say they should work about 50 million presses, key presses, 50 million key presses, which should, I don't know how much you guys type on your Commodore 64 keyboards, but I think that will probably last me at least, 50, 100 years to break one. So.
And these are micro switch based, so it's not like the original where it's, a spring and a plunger.
Exactly. There's a spring inside, but people can switch them if they break, or if they become too, loose, or they don't get the feedback that they got when they first received it. Yes.
You in your email when we invited you, you said you are planning to change some things about the keyboard design, about the materials. Well, maybe talk a bit about that.
Yes, certainly. The prototype I presented on my homepage was based on acrylic, I don't know how you pronounce it, but acrylic. basically plastic plates. The reason why, because that material is cheap, and I could go to a local laser cutting company and have it pretty cheaply cut out for me. But when it comes to the extremely long space bar, I need some kind of stabilizing things on top. And the Co-Star, this is very, just stop me if it gets too nerdy, with the Co-Star stabilizer, these little plastic things, springs type thing that goes in below that the stabilizer wire that's connected underneath the long spacebar is attached to. It needs 1.5 millimeter material to snap into, and using the acrylic plate is just too thin, it's too brittle. You can, if you pound it too hard, you will basically, it will splinter or shatter. So I basically decided to, and there's also, if you use the original boards like the Commodore 64C, there would not be an issue. But as soon as you went to with the short boards, but if you would install it to one of the long boards with the wider motherboards, then I needed to. It would actually touch some of the parts on the top of the motherboard, which would be, so it wouldn't be a universal. I wanted to make one that doesn't matter which version of Commodore 64 you have, this should be a drop-in replacement. So I basically took the drawings that I used for the acrylic plates and I redesigned it and basically bit the bullet and made it so it would be in aluminum. So at the moment I'm waiting. It's about tomorrow. It's 2 weeks ago. I sent off the drawing to a Chinese company that would actually laser cut it in 1.5 millimeter aluminum. They would bend it so it would have the same shape as the original plastic part of the keyboard, and they would make it black. They would anodize it in black, so it should be looking really, really nice. And that would also accommodate the black PCBs that I received a few weeks back the idea is that everything is surface mounted. So this part I'm showing you here is where all it's a very small circuit that would actually make the shift lock work. So when you press the shift lock, then a little LED will light up underneath the shift lock, and then you will press the shift lock again, and then it will turn off.
Wow.
Because if you actually, I wanted a locking switch. Cherry made a locking switch, but they discontinued it a few years back. I've been able to find maybe 8 or 10 or something, but they are ridiculously expensive. So
Okay.
I don't think anybody will pay, I don't know, 15, 20 euros more just to get that part. So now I can just use one of the cheap micro switches that's not locking. So, but I need to have those connectors shorted during operation until I press it again, which will be the function of the shift lock, basically. So that took me quite some time. I actually wrote to Gideon, the Ultimate 64 guy, because I wanted to make sure that his motherboard would also support some of the same thing as the Commodore the C what's called the reloaded board, and of course all the other motherboards that I have direct access to. And he actually gave me just one line of advice, and that's one of the main parts of that circuit that's going to the keyboard. So I should write something about Gideon approved or something. So that was very nice of him. But I was using a relay, and he said, "Why would you use a relay? You should just use an analog switch, which is half the price or 1/3 of the price." And as soon as I just wasn't sure that I thought there should be a galvanic separation between lines, but he said, "Don't worry about it. Just put in an analog switch." So I found one, and everything worked.
Okay, great. I was actually thinking before this interview, is there any use for a shift lock key? Can you just not remove it? And then I remember that there are some pinball games on the C64 that use the shift lock key. I don't know exactly for what again, but I remember there were some games that were using it. So you just can't remove it, yeah.
I have no idea. I just thought, well, if I'm making a keyboard, there should be a drop-in replacement. People shouldn't worry about if it doesn't work with the shift lock key. It doesn't work, whatever, right? It should just be a no-brainer, basically. Just swap the keyboard and everything should work. But yes, I have never used it either. So.
Yeah, it's just it's just a thing that when we talk to people, that happens a lot of times. People think, okay, nobody is using it anyway, but there's one person using it, and suddenly something breaks.
Does it even register as a key? Does it even register as a key press? Because I think that the left and right shift, they're different, maybe, or are they the same? Do they register as the same key?
No, you can program them differently.
Right.
Yeah.
But the shift lock, does that register as a left or right shift or as a shift lock?
I'm not a sampler coder. I'm not the one to know. I have no idea.
I am, and I don't know this. I should know that. I'm embarrassed at my lack of knowledge.
Okay, I may be on a limb here, but I'm pretty sure the shift lock and the two shift keys, they have the exact same purpose. I mean, there shouldn't be any. It takes me. Give me 15 more seconds, and I have the drawing, so I can let you know whether or not everything is connected or not.
I mean, you just need one customer that is used to punch the shift lock key because he screams all the time. And then he says like, "No, I can't scream anymore when I enter IRC with my Z64."
You know what? You might be right. They're connected at different places on the motherboard. So yes, they may have one of them, the left shift and the shift lock. They have the same purpose. They will work the same, but not the right shift.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is why some pinball simulators on the C64, some pinball games use shift lock for something and the right shift for another purpose. So yes, so hey.
Yes, I think that's yep. don't want to say something wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is. The left shift and the shift lock, they work the same, and the right has some other function.
So pinball players, you are safe with this keyboard. So are you already nervous about the big orders and stuff when this thing is finally getting on sale?
I hope I have figured everything out before I'm making this small batch. At the moment, I'm waiting just to make a very, very small batch, like 5 or 10 or so. And I have a very small group of people that have agreed that they would not beta test them, but I would ship them to them, and then hopefully they will work with them different than I do. And if something comes up, then they'll tell me, and hopefully I can figure out what went wrong. But again, it's a mechanical keyboard, right? There's nothing, there's no memory in it, there's no coding. There's basically me. If I didn't connect the dots right, then I wouldn't be able to get the R key or the T key or whatever. So I'm pretty confident whenever everything has been installed in one of the machines, and it should work. I can't see why it shouldn't work, right? So
Great.
But I don't know if something would. And the only thing is that the American with the NTSC should be different from the PAL in Europe. But I can't see how that would influence the keyboard.
I'd be happy to test one for you.
Sure. I also have an NTSC C64, so I can we both can be your testers, no problem. I mean, as I said, I'm using it constantly, and I broke just one keyboard for the first time in my life. So hey, yeah.
What do you guys use mechanical keyboards for other purposes, like for your everyday work or something? Because this is probably the biggest. People, they have strong religious feelings when it comes to the type of mechanical switch that they use. Some like cherries, some like Gatoron, some like Caliph or whatever they're called, and they need to be blue, they need to be black, they need to be tactile, they need to be linear, they need to be. Everybody has their own favorite.
Right.
Personally, I don't mind, but at work I'm using a Cherry keyboard. Yeah.
Okay. I ordered cherries first, but the price is almost twice. Sometimes it's more than twice the price that compared to the Gatoron keys. So I've ordered Gatoron keys for all the keyboards that I hopefully are able to make and send to people. I have this little funny type thing where you can actually put in the different micro switches and kind of feel what would be the closest resemblance to the original keyboard. And in my humble opinion, I think it's the yellow Gatorons are smoother. And they activate before or earlier. You don't have to press them as far down before they get activated if you compare them to the cherry switches. And that, they're cheaper. I think they run smoother, and that's why I went with Gatorons. But let's see if people accept that, or they have a strong feeling that they need cherry switches, because it's already a quite expensive keyboard. I'm working with the price around 160 euros, 155, depending on little bits and pieces. What can I get cheap from China? How many can I order before being caught in customs? So I have to pay customs and custom fees and all that to try to keep the cost down. But it's an exclusive keyboard. It's mass produced, right? I mean, if I can make, 50 or something, then that's a lot of soldering in the basement. I think they have like almost 200 soldering points for just making one. So there's easy an hour between an hour and a half just creating one keyboard from all these bits and pieces. So,
right.
But the market will tell. If people don't want to buy them, then, and that's why I make a very small production batch just to start out with, to see if there's actually a market for it. So
when you look at comments for your blog post, some people are like, I don't mind what it costs. I just want it. Take my money and shut up.
Give me 3 or something, right?
They even don't know what it costs yet. But some people say like, I don't mind, you know. Okay, used keyboards can be around 30, 70 euros, depending on where you go to.
Yeah, but they're also 25 years old. Even if they've been refurbished, it's 25 years old. That could last a month.
Yeah,
you know?
like in my case with the broken key, was an eBay purchase.
Right.
Okay. From a private seller. So hey, and it lasted like 3 months or something.
Right.
Okay. Well,
I think that probably 3 quarters to at least 75% will buy them for their Ultimate 64s or their for the brand new motherboard for the Reloaded and from the Ultimate 64. I'm pretty sure most of the people who are interested in spending this amount of money on a mechanical keyboard for their machine is probably building a brand new machine and hope and praise, I guess, that Phase 5 will eventually come through and hopefully ship their keys. We've been waiting for almost 3 years at the moment, right? So
yes, May 2015 was the day I ordered. Yeah.
I think I have ordered keys for like 8 or 10 keyboards. So hopefully
just got 3 sets.
But it sounds like he's going to sell them afterwards in some kind of shop. So hopefully they'll be available afterwards as well.
Why not make a cooperation? Yeah, that's a good idea.
A cooperation with him, or?
Yeah, why not? I mean, like a bundle offer or something. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, the best thing would actually be if he was able to make the shape of the Commodore 64 keycaps, but with the modern way of attaching them to the cherry-based key switches.
So you don't need adapters.
That way we don't need the adapters, yes. Because that could be, I mean, I'm thinking about sending them so people can do that part of the assembly themselves, because just making one keyboard and your fingers are numb, because you really, really need to press those very, very hard, because it's a very tight fit. So whenever the key adapter, 3D printed key adapter, and the new key top is on there, then you can feel that you have a little adapter in between, because everything has been made so perfectly in size and shape. But making those myself, I need to think. I need to do some creative thinking. Who is going to put all those 3D adapters on all those keys? So at the moment I have 2,500 micro switches or something like that. So that's a lot of 3D adapters I have to put on there.
You've got kids, just child labor. Have them, working in the sweatshop in the corner there,
Exactly.
I'm getting you a Switch if you do it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Why actually, as you said, it's very expensive and you don't know how much people would buy it. Why don't you try crowdfunding, as AJ suggested? Even people said, yeah, I mean...
I think this is a very selfish approach, because this is a way of protecting myself, because, if I do a crowdfunding, then I'm obligated, basically, right? I've taken people's money, pay me, and I will deliver this at this point in time. Now I can say, well, it's not going to happen this week because, I don't know, I need to go to the beach this week, or I have something I need to do tonight, so I can't do that as well. This way, it's, I can't be blamed for being late, basically. I can tell people that I hope that it will be done within, and the time frame I'm working with is hopefully within the last, around 1st of July, I'll be able to show a blog post and let the world know how everything turned out. there's been a very kind American guy that has actually he said he wanted to do the crowdfunding part without it being a crowdfund. So he actually transferred some money to me, which was actually speeding things up, because then I was able to order the PCBs. I was able to order the brackets, the aluminum brackets, and all that. So and I said, well, it's not a crowdfund, but let's those money is a prepayment for 2 keyboards plus shipping, and whatever is left over, I'll just PayPal you back or something. He said, "Oh, that's fine, Lau." So some friendly people out there really want to see this project succeed. So yes, crowdfunding at the moment, no, but maybe later. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, we had talked about that in the last podcast, which is, like you said, you crowdfund, you get X amount of dollars. Now you're on the hook, and if
Exactly.
you don't deliver, then it's the Vega Plus, where it's this huge thing where it didn't get delivered.
To see how much BS that Phase 5 guy has taken, right? I know he has excuses, and I also think he's very tardy. I mean, very late on delivering, but oh man, people hate him.
Right.
Some of those mails are evil, right? It's and I don't want to do that, and I don't think I can sell 2,500 keyboards. So if I knew there was a market for 2,500 new keyboards, I should have had the molds made and have everything made in plastic or something. But I don't think that's the case, actually. I think 80% they don't care if the price is 100 euros or 155 euros. They will buy it anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah.
We will see. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem to pay a bit if the thing is really good. I mean, I want to have my machine the next 30 years, if it's possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'd also like it with, again, modern switches. And I don't know how much different it is. I've often compared to the 64. Like when I'm using my my Mac, it's got a nice, modern keyboard, and it's like a delicate waltz of typing, really quick and stuff. The 64 is more like road construction, where you're, your each key is like whap whap whap.
Yeah.
To have like a mix between the two, where it's like a modern feel keyboard, but it's the 64 keyboard would be awesome, because then you could actually do work. Because coming back to it, I'm realizing this keyboard is not the best keyboard in the world.
It's a horrible keyboard.
Yeah, it is.
It was back in the day. It was a very nice typewriter keyboard, but typewriters you had to press pretty tough too.
Yeah, typewriters, it was each key individually, and it was whap, make sure the hammer comes up and smacks it. So that in that instance, it translated well, but to what people expect in a modern keyboard, it doesn't translate at all. No,
and I think regardless of which microswitch people think is the best, it will make the world of difference. It may not be as close to one of those gaming keyboards that you may use at work, that's very, because the travel is short and all that, but compared to the original, this is, I think it's 80-90% closer to a modern day keyboard. So hopefully it should be a much better typing experience. But I can't change the angle and the size of the keys and all that. So
right. And these switches they're soldered to the board too, so it's not like you have to pull it apart periodically and clean off the contact traces and all that nonsense.
No. I don't know how much dust will be trapped inside the keys and all that. I have no idea. I just use one of these cheap Logitech that I get from work. So I'm more a mouse guy. I have a very expensive mouse, a gaming mouse. So I need to be very precise. So but I'm confident that the mechanical switches they'll be fine. For the Commodore 64, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, what exciting times. New C64 motherboards, new C128 boards, new keyboards, new keycaps, new cases. You can get a completely new C64.
New stickers. Pixel Worsted is making these new. Thomas, isn't that the guy's name? He's making the new labels as well. Mm-hmm. So everything should be updated. It's looking very nice.
Yeah. You should make a cooperation all together. So like a brand new C64 out of the box.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
We just got to start making the chips again. That's the next thing. The FPGA based chips that you can just replace all of them with.
Yeah, well, there is FPGA based PLAs and SIDs.
Well, the SID isn't quite there yet. I haven't heard anything about the SID in a while.
You mean the FPGA SID?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because that guy's actually taken pre-orders since the end of March. Mm-hmm. He was supposed to release them. In the pre-order, he says, if you pre-order, you are committed to actually buy it.
Right, but now whenever they get around to,
most PLAs are CPLD based, right? There's some EEPROMs, but they don't. The timing is wrong.
Yeah,
I had a long discussion with E5 Frog and. What's the other guy's name? Islapian. Mm-hmm. Is he Canadian or something? Making the PLA Angton or the Plankton PLA. So yes, I haven't heard about the FPGA PLA, but I may have been in the basement too long looking at a keyboard.
And then we get we get a new FPGA based, 8500 or 6510, and we stick it in there, and then we've got built-in acceleration and everything. It's
no longer super CPU for high prices on the internet.
Exactly. That's my hope. Because we get cool stuff like that with the Amigas. You can just plug it into the processor port, and it gives you the IDE connections or extra memory and the better processor and whatnot. You should be able to do that with a 64.
Exactly.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, as you produce new keyboards, you could put in an Easter egg, like a little bit of memory. So
I think the Easter egg. I don't know if I should. This is a spoiler alert, I guess. But in Denmark, you're still able to buy licorice pipes, like candy pipes. Mm. So like it's called the skipper's pipe, and I'm playing because that's so political. Incorrect, I guess, in modern day. So I'm gonna ship some Danish candies and stuff like that and a few replacement parts. If some of the micro switches break, then I'll put in a few of those as well, so people can swap them when they break after 80 years or something. So, but I think that's about the amount of Easter egg that Oh yeah. The other thing, I actually got one of the first the email auction that they did at individual computers in Schoenfeld. They did when the email auction with the first batch of the C64 reloaded boards. I'm actually planning on the first 30 keyboards. I would just as a gimmick to that, I would sign them and number them.
Nice.
From 1 to 30. I don't know if that's people will buy more or something, but just for the fun of it.
And then when they show up on eBay for $2,000, you can tell exactly who it was that's selling it because you'll see the number. Yeah.
And then I'll spoil it and say, well, I labeled every one of them number 4 or something.
Yeah, well, like that 64 Ultimate that was on eBay, they blurred out the serial number because you'd know who. Gideon would probably have a list of who bought them.
Exactly.
What number goes to who, so he'd be like, don't sell to this idiot again.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, if people can do that, then I'll just get a laugh, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I'll sell one with number 4, number 5. I can just label them myself.
Yeah.
So, quite exciting times. That's Is there any planning when you actually want to finish it? Because on your blog post, you were sounding kind of disappointed that it took like 2.5 years to actually get something to show people.
Yeah.
You were pretty nervous about that.
Yeah. Because when I did the first blog in June of 12 and back in 2016, I was like, how hard can it be? But then I figured out there's a lot of bits and pieces that I have to figure out. I needed to figure out the whole shift log thing. I needed to teach myself how to use a CAD program so I could actually make the PCB. And I need to know something about materials and how when you're bending stuff, then things get longer and you have to recalculate. But that also depends on the tools that you send to the manufacturer, and all these. When I looked into it, it was just a little overwhelming. And then there was another Danish guy that wrote to me every once in a while, and he said, "So how long are you?" And he actually got me going. This was in December, January, or something like that of this year. And then I thought, well, now I just give it a go and try to overcome whatever issues that I had to overcome in order to make these parts. And I think I spent like 350 hours or something like that, and I don't know, 1,500 euros, which is not too bad for a niche product, I guess. So it basically took me 2.5 months on my spare time, or in my spare time, to get all this working and send off the first PCB. The first PCB for the prototype, I had a very great Chinese company that was very helpful with some of the very basic when you send out these files for having the PCB made. So they helped me out with some of the smaller things, and when they sent it, everything was perfect, but something was a little misaligned, so I had to readjust some things, and I had to swap some of the connectors so it would be easier for me when I should solder all the pins and I need to drill the holes and to attach it. So that's so after the first prototype, I don't know, 10-15 hours, and the bracket didn't take that long because I had all the drawings. I had everything aligned and measured out so it would fit. So now I'm basically waiting for pieces to get in my mailbox.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's it.
So I actually wanted to ask, are the Chinese manufacturer actually aware of what you are doing? Because the Commodore 64 was not really sold in China back in the day. Or what is their feedback? Do they even know what they are working on with you?
They have no idea what they're working on, no. But I mean, I don't know. This is not even a joke. We are losing to the Chinese people. I mean, they are ridiculously fast, and especially making PCBs. I would pay for 25 PCBs. They would make in 3 days. And they would send it with DHL, and they would be here 3 days later. So I can order board PCBs on Monday, and I'll have them Tuesday, Wednesday of the following week at the price that if I actually tried to order a prototype in Germany, and they would have like 8 weeks before they could ship it. And what I should pay for just one prototype, I would get like 20 or 25 in China within 6 working days or something like that. And the quality, as far as I can see, is awesome. I have an electrical engineer, a colleague who's an electrical engineer, and I showed him the boards, and he said, "Well, I mean, it's a simple board. It's just a 2-layer board, but it's very, very well made. I mean, everything is aligned. He was very impressed. So, and I hope that I'll get the same experience with the aluminum brackets."
So this old-fashioned, where you say if you buy sheep from China, you buy twice, isn't really true anymore.
It is. If you buy, you can buy so much crap out there that you don't pay anything for, right? But if you pay the price for like what a PCB costs, or having a manufacturer to cut the things out, I think what saved you the most money is because they don't pay for labor. Labor is cheap in China, yeah. But the machines, I mean, I assume that all the American companies, Apple and not Microsoft, but hardware manufacturers, they have their parts and bits made in China as well. So, I mean, that's probably the same companies that I can just go online and I get a price right away. And the funny thing is actually that 2/3 is for the hardware and 1/3 is for shipping. I pay like 1/3 of the total prices for shipping out there. I could choose just basic Chinese shipping and it will take like 8 or 10 weeks or something like that. But if I'm willing to pay 1/3 of the total price, then I would have it within 2 or 3 days, everything tracked by DHL. They will show up on my door 3 days later. I mean, I'm impressed. So, but yes, you can buy crap in China, but you can definitely, if you know the manufacturer that you need to go to, then this was actually this company was actually a friend from Britain that that's been very Mongoose man, who's been very kind to ship me some what's it called, Dale from DDI, something magic cards. And they have used that specific company in China. So he actually said, well, this is a very good company and they make good stuff. So it wasn't just me trying to, and basically with just hoping that I would find the best company. So I had a little help with that part as well.
So overall, were you expecting to get so much feedback on it? Or did you think nobody would recognize you on your little blog? Because you said you had so many visitors.
I thought that I was onto something, but when I'm looking at the price for a C64 Reloaded on Ultimate 64, this is almost as expensive, or maybe a little more expensive, because shipping from Denmark is ridiculous. So the final price is going to be quite high for a simple product if you compare it to the hard work that Jens Schoenfeld and the Gideon made on their motherboards. This is a dumb part, basically, right? I just need to short the right legs on the cable, and then I have parts on the motherboards taking care of whatever key press that I'm pressing. So this is not an intelligent part, but it's very expensive because there's so many parts going into it. Of course, I could probably have those companies talk together and had everything connected and made completely out there, but I don't know how much money I would save on that actually.
Well, the advantage is you are in Denmark, so Denmark is a part along Sweden. From the European Union, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's correct.
So in contrast to Norway, who is not part of the European Union, I will not have to pay customs when I order the keyboard with you.
Exactly. But the US and the Canadian guys, they will, I guess.
I don't know how it works for Americans. Did you ever have to pay, AJ, for value-added tax or or customs?
No, when I got the latest thing where I could remember that was the Cinefex, which I think was also was that Denmark, or was that?
That was also from Denmark, yes.
Yeah, and the U.S. was not subject to VAT.
Okay. And no customs duty either? No? Nothing?
No.
You're lucky over there.
Yeah, because when I ordered stuff from the US, I would pay 25% in import taxes. Oof. And I would pay, how much is that in euros? That's like 22 euros for the Danish Postal Service, just as a fee for handling the 25% that I have to pay for the items.
Yes, I also have the option because I bought wireless antenna extensions, and they cost like $5 or something. And because they didn't include the invoice on the outside of the envelope, I have the option to either go to the customs office and pick them up myself, opening the letter and show them there are antenna extensions, or I have to pay 28 euros for the postal service to represent me and give them the papers and open the parcel for me in front of customs. So I will go on Friday to the customs in person instead of paying 28 euros of handling fee for missing papers.
Yeah, I need to mention this as well. This is one of the reasons why some of the parts are it's not very expensive, but that's why the total price increases, because I need to order some special sockets from the US. I need the keys from where I'm ordering those from, somewhere in Asia, not Singapore, and somewhere in Asia. And I need other parts from Germany. I need the 3D printed parts are from Holland, and that's not expensive, but all the shipping, and eventually with some of the with the import taxes and the custom fees, and everything just skyrockets. And then when I order things in China if there's I think it's 11 or 12 euros. If you order for less than 11 or 12 euros, then you don't have to pay the customs fees. So, but it takes 8-10 weeks to get here, so I need to plan ahead, right? So to make sure that I have all the nylon screws and nuts, and I have the plastic spacers, and I have the ribbon cables and all that. I need to know. I mean, I can't just say that I ordered it today and then next week I'll be able to make new keyboards, because it takes so long before things get here. To try to keep the price down.
Here's an idea: make a family trip to USA. Make a family trip to USA. Get the stuff all sent to AJ. Then AJ pays no customs and no VAT. Then you assemble all keyboards, and then you go in the plane and say, "Oh, they're just keyboards, not really much of value." You see, keyboards. Okay, that's cheap. You can go.
So, but since I'm not a business. I've never sold anything. Just little things as I need labels, like with I call it the MacBoard 64 to make it short for mechanical keyboard for the 64, right? So it's very original. But anyways, I still need stickers to put on the case. If people pay 150 plus euros, that's like 190 some US dollars. So it should be presented very nicely, because otherwise people will say, "Hey, what am I buying here? I don't want to pay that for."
Right.
It looks cheap, right? So I need everything to look as nice as possible, but everything adds to the cost. So,
Personally, I don't mind how it looks, because it's in the case anyway. You don't see it. Except you have the clear case, of course.
But it's like 10-15 years ago, when you had those gaming machines where you had a window on the side of your big tower, right? And you had all these lights in there, and water and fancy fluorescent colors and all that. It's kind of the same. And I know you put it underneath something you can't see it, but you want to know that. If you pay 150 some euros for something like a keyboard for a machine that's so very old, you need to know that it's nice looking and it's sturdy, and you need to think that you invested in, that your money is invested in something that will last for a very long time.
Yeah, people will be upset if they threw in $150 and got a cardboard keyboard.
Exactly.
So like Nintendo is doing for the Switch right now with the Ludo paper thing.
Stupid paper things, yeah.
You wanted to say something, AJ.
I was just going to say, any plans to carry over this sort of thing to other products? 128.
I've had quite a few people ask me that. People also asked me if I could do a keyboard for the C64 Mini. let's see how this goes. I don't think the issue. I mean, the 128 came in different versions, right? One was with an integrated keyboard, and one was with an external.
Yeah.
The internal will probably be easier to reproduce, but the external might be different because I don't
think it is. The plug for it, the external has it's a weird, like 25-pin plug that goes on the side. But I think aside from that, the connections, the wiring is all the same. It's just a different plug into the machine.
Okay.
And don't forget about the SX64 keyboard.
Because that's completely different, right? Because I've looked at those. And I don't even have an SX myself. I would love to have one of those. One of those and a golden 64. That would be great. But I don't have neither of those.
Yeah, because the SX64, from what I understand, that keyboard sucks.
Okay.
So
it is not very good.
But again, I need to, I mean, this is, I don't know, this is very selfish. Again, I know that, but I would get a lot of street credibility from the SX users. But there's so few SX64 machines out there. Then the market for the 128 may also be a lot smaller compared to the the 64. But if there's not a lot of work, I wouldn't. I mean, why not? I mean, if the matrix is the same and a lot of the keys are the same, then it shouldn't take long to adapt it to the 128 as well. I just don't own a 128. I didn't know anyone back in the days that had a 121. Yeah, maybe one friend of mine had one, but he always ran it in 64 mode because he didn't know what to use it for in 128 mode. So yes.
Ultimate that has a 2 megahertz option.
Really?
What I think it was Ultimate 5, the role-playing game.
Ultima. A couple of things. Yeah, there was a version of Elite for it. There were a few games that. Yeah. But Ultima didn't run in 2 megahertz. Ultima just used the extra memory so it could play music.
Okay, that was it. Okay.
And that's what most games did, because most games, the 80-column mode in the 128 was kind of couldn't do. It didn't have sprites. It didn't have a lot of that stuff. So if you wanted to do anything graphics-wise, you'd do it in 40 columns, which is 1 megahertz. And you'd get the same graphics capabilities as the 64, just with extra memory and some added functionality. You could do 2 megahertz if you blanked the screen. You'd have to turn the 40-column screen off.
And I think there was another game, V8, yes, with the music from Rob Hubbard.
Oh, the last V8?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
There was a version for the 128 that had digital samples in it.
Yeah.
Because it had more memory available.
Right.
Yeah. So you see, there are a few games, and also Peter Reichenbach with his Z128 remastered. It will use the Z64 keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's another market share here.
Okay.
So, yeah. So plenty of possibilities to sell your keyboard to people.
Yeah.
I mean, but I need to point this out. That I mean, I didn't make this to make and sell 1,000 of keyboards. This was basically a keyboard that I wanted to make for myself and my own machines. And because so many people have told me their interest in it, and if you read the comments, it took me quite some time before I even said, well, maybe I'll make a small batch, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't offer people something that I couldn't deliver too soon. So this is I would make small batches, and as I told you, I have 30 PCBs that I already have. I have most parts, but I still need the brackets, and so hopefully I'll sell those 30 keyboards on Lemon 64 or some place similar. Probably not on my website, because it's as I said earlier, I'm not a business, so I'm just selling this as a private person, which is a lot of different. It's very different from being a company with the warranty and all that. Of course, I will help people out to the best of my ability, but the what they call the terms and conditions are a little bit different compared to if I have like a real shop and I need to pay I had to take taxes that I need to do this and that. So the idea is that I'll make a very small batch first, probably around 30, and then see how the world sees that. If they like it, then I can see why not. I would make an even larger batch, and then if I'm able to sell them and I can get everything working as expected, then I'll just put it on my home site, and I'll just make a little web shop there, and then everything changes, and then of course I will sell them with the warranty and all the legal stuff that has to be correct.
Yeah, why not? I mean, when we invited you, you were pretty happy about the possibility to get this more out to the world. So it seems your first afraidness went away.
I mean, when I looked at the other people you guys interviewed, I was very humbled by your offer for this interview. I mean, you guys rock. The people you've talked to and interviewed. That's, I mean, if I'm not saying I'm near their league, but I mean this is very nice of you that you think that my little keyboard project will actually be shown on your blog. This is amazing. So I'm very, very excited. It's very kind of you guys.
Yeah, well, it's a cool product. We like this. It's a really cool time to be in the 64 world at the moment because there's so much cool stuff coming out for it. Like exactly. At this point in history that we never had before. This is stuff that, 20 years ago when I used this thing as my everyday computer, I would have loved to have all this stuff available.
Yeah. And I love the hardware. When I came into the 64 again, I'm picking it up the hobby again 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, I just love the hardware. I've never been a very good software gamer or writing software, but I think the hardware is my niche in this world with the Commodore 64, and I really enjoy it. I also a part of Triad, the cracking group from Sweden. But then the purpose there is also being the hardware guy, trying to write articles for their disc magazine.
Attitude,
yeah. Exactly. So, but whenever they start talking about cracking games and how they can make unlimited lives, I'm lost. I'm just tell me what to test, and I do some of the testing for them, which is amazing. It's a lot of fun. So
just in case some listeners don't know what Triad is the right now longest running cracking and now also demo group since a few years. What was that was founded in 1986, and they are still active. Yeah,
I think we have about 25 active members. Yes, so and they recruited me a few years back based on my blog, and they needed an editor and one to write hardware articles. So that's my little niche with Triad. So,
and your handle is Mountain Buffalo.
Yeah, exactly. Mountain Buffalo, that's me. I don't know if you want that story as well. It's just a silly story.
Well, I mean, we want all the background from the people we interview. I mean, that is why we talk for over an hour already.
Before going to university, I spent an entire winter season in Vail in Colorado snowboarding, and as a joke, because we were hiking the backcountries with our snowboards or skis, and then we would ski the back bowls, and then it was very fun to call me Mountain Buffalo because I mean there's no mountains in Denmark. The highest hill is like 400 feet or something like that. So that's kind of it's an internal joke or inside joke that I would be the Mountain Buffalo because I come from a country without any hills at all. I mean, at least no mountains. So, and then I just shortened the mountain part to MTN and then MTN Buffalo just for the fun. That's been stuck with me for the last, 15 years or so. That's the handle I always use.
Nice. Great. So let's talk about that. Where can people actually find your stuff? What's your homepage URL again?
My homepage is breadbox64.com. And not to confuse with the Twitter client that's been that's been developed. So I hope I haven't overstepped some. I even write this about my about page that have nothing to do with Johan van den Brande, who made the Breadbox 64 Twitter client. But when I had to find a name for my blog, then breadbox64.com was available, and I was like, ooh, let me get that. And then it was afterwards I found out that, well, somebody else has made this wonderful Twitter client with that exact name. So my homepage is called breadbox64.com.
Yeah, the Twitter client doesn't work anymore anyway.
Okay.
Do you have actually Twitter?
No, I'm not on any social media.
Oh,
I think
okay.
I have a dummy account for Breadbox64 on Facebook. That's because sometimes I can see on my Google Analytics that, it just skyrockets that with some power supply post or something because it was mentioned there, and then I don't know, I like to snag, I guess, just to see who wrote something about who is linking to my page, but I don't have anything on there. It's just a dummy account. So no, I'm not on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or any of those social media.
So it's all your blog. Yeah.
I have a YouTube account, but that's just because I need the videos that I show on my homepage. So very
nice.
Social, I guess.
Nice. Yeah,
Cool.
but you're pretty easy to catch by email, though. I guess that was good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll put links to the website and all that in the description below, so people can check that out.
That's
great.
Fine.
So
right,
good. So enjoy your night. Now your family is in bed, as you said, at 9 or something.
Exactly, it's 9:30. Yes. So now I'll go watch some Netflix. What's an American sitcom or something, right? Yes. It was very nice talking to you guys. It was very nice of you thinking of me, and let me know if I could be of any help or something if you need something at a later time.
We will stay in touch.
All right.
For sure.
Have a nice evening and
you too.
Nice day.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Yep, will do.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.